Danny O'Dwyer is an avid gamer. He might even be an addict. Have you got your new Grand Theft Auto 4 yet, Danny?
I do indeed, Matt, and I have to give out to you for prying me away from my console for the next 10 minutes or so.
How good is it, this game?
Absolutely fantastic. It's one of the most hotly anticipated games this year, and it's pulled all the punches. It's probably the best game of this generation of consoles, the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and arguably among one of the best games ever made, I have to say.
Why? What's so good about it?
It's just, there's so much to do in this game. It's based in Liberty City, which is a sort of a pseudo-New York. You play the part of Nico Bellic, who's like a war-hardened but naive Eastern European who arrives on the shores of America looking for ladies, cash and cars, you know, the old American dream. But it's just such a fantastic display of storytelling and gaming. The dialogue is amazing. The world itself, the city, it's so immersive. There's so much going on, lots of dialogue going on between characters that have nothing to do with you. It feels like it's lived in, instead of sort of like a sandbox area that was set up for you to just play around in.
So it's like you're in a movie almost, is it?
Exactly. Sam Houser, the lead developer of the game, was often said that he wanted to go into movies as a child. And you can really see in this game where that leads. It's so cinematic.
And the graphics and visuals good?
Graphics are very good. It's mostly the vastness of the game more so than anything else. It really feels like this huge city. If anyone who's played the previous game, the controversial one, of course, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, it's about the same size of that, but it's just all urban, built up. There's literally something to do around every corner, but it's the immersion with the television programs you can sit down and watch. There's hours and hours of radio you can listen to in the car, and of course it's the staple of the Grand Theft Auto franchise is its fantastic social commentary, and there's lots of jokes on the radio, television, and then people's chats on the street about immigration, terrorism, weight loss, celebrities, everything. There's just so much to do in this game.
And how violent is it?
Of course, it's quite violent. The other Grand Theft Auto games were cartoonish in their graphical style. This one, because it's obviously a lot more realistic, it has a new physics engine, and it's very gritty. It's a lot less cartoony in its delivery of violence.
So the violence, does that make the violence more serious, more real?
It definitely makes it more real, I have to say. In previous, like I've talked to you lots of times about children playing games and whatnot, and the previous games, I could sort of see why you would have less of a, parents might be duped into letting their kids play them, but this is quite gritty. It's also quite adult, the themes in it, and to be honest, the way it's delivered and the way the narrative is delivered, it's definitely skewed towards adults. It's quite a brain teaser as you're playing it as well. Okay,
it's 18 rated, but Dr. Kieron Moore is with us, a consultant child psychiatrist. There are stories of adults queuing, but not for themselves, to get this for their children. What do you think of a game like this for children?
Hi, Matt. Well, I don't want to sound like some kind of killjoy who's going on about things that I've never seen or haven't an awful lot of expertise in, but and I totally hear what your other guests say. I know the excitement of video games and have been known to play them myself in the past, so I do understand that they're useful at times, but I really do have concerns about the violence, and I mean there's plenty of research evidence to show that violent video games are significantly associated with aggressive behaviour and thoughts, and they're research studies, but I think certainly my line of work in psychiatry, and I think people will know even with their own kids, my own 3 kids as well, after any kind of video game, they're obviously fairly hyped up, which is fair enough. But if it's a particularly violent game, they're even more hyped up. And I suppose my concern is that I know it's 18 rated, but as your other guests said, the vast majority of people, and I'm seeing it here in my own work even today, who are playing this seem to be teenagers and younger. And I remain concerned, and I think society needs to be concerned about the relationship between violent video games, not just video games, but violent video games. And
wasn't there violence in the world? Weren't people misbehaving ever before video games were invented?
Oh, of course there was, and I'm not blaming it for everything, but I mean, I think there's a certain, particularly a subset of people who may be prone to a difficulty in establishing the difference between reality and fiction anyway. that this is more dangerous for. But I mean, again, I think overall that there's plenty of research to show that violent video games, or certainly violent television programs, etc., have a relationship with aggression.
But if they're predisposed to aggression, aren't we better off if they're immersed in the virtual world rather than taking that out in the real world?
Yeah, but we don't live in the virtual world. I mean, grand if somebody could live in a computer and head off there, and I know plenty of people that do that to some extent, but they still have to come out of it and eat, and they still have to come out of it and interact with human beings. And the difficulty is that people are finding it harder to interact with human beings because they spend their whole time online.
Well, Danny O'Dwyer isn't doing too badly for the 5 or 6 minutes he's with us online. How much does this cost, and how available is it, Danny?
It's between 60 and 70 euro for the normal edition, and there's also a special edition which is closer to 100. It's widely available. A game like this gets made in masses, so you shouldn't have a problem picking it up. But can I just say for a second, there's a common misconception about gaming that exists. The average age of a video game player in the world is actually 33. They've been around for almost 3 decades. The types of people who would be buying this would be between 20 and 30. I know it was different when I was growing up. I wasn't allowed to play games during the week when I had school, and it's different times, and there's a lot of peer pressure got to do with it. I suppose games aren't the worst thing in the world. It all depends on parents knows how mature their child are. I would say don't buy this game if your kid is under 18. Definitely if your child is under 12. I was at a midnight launch last night, and there were a number of parents buying this for kids who are incredibly young. It is violent, it is gritty, it's not for kids, but it's a fantastic game, and if you like games, it's an experience you just cannot miss.
Danny O'Dwyer and Dr. Kieron Moore, thank you both for joining us. 53102, number for your comments. Back after this.
100 to 102 Today FM, the last word with O2.
Guess what? I'm on the way home now.
Save an hour a day with a BlackBerry from O2. Let's change the way we work.